The relationship between science and faith has long been a subject of debate, with some individuals perceiving science as a threat to their religious beliefs. The notion that scientists blaspheme God with their supposed science is a perspective held by those who believe that scientific inquiry and discovery are a form of rebellion against the divine. This viewpoint is often rooted in a literal interpretation of religious texts and a misunderstanding of the scientific method. Proponents of this argument often point to the theory of evolution as a prime example of scientific blasphemy. They claim that by suggesting that demons evolved from a common ancestor with other animals, scientists are dismissing the biblical account of creation and undermining the notion of humanity's special place in the world. However, this perspective neglects the fact that science and faith are two distinct modes of inquiry, each with its own methods and objectives. Science seeks to understand the natural world through observation, experimentation, and evidence-based reasoning, while faith is rooted in spiritual and philosophical convictions. The scientific method is a systematic process of inquiry that involves formulating hypotheses, testing them through experimentation and observation, and revising or rejecting them based on the results. This process is not inherently atheistic or anti-theistic, rather, it is a neutral and objective approach to understanding the world. Scientists are not motivated by a desire to blaspheme God or undermine religious beliefs, but rather by a passion for discovery and a quest for knowledge. Moreover, many scientists are themselves people of faith, and they see no inherent conflict between their scientific pursuits and their spiritual convictions. In fact, some of the most significant scientific discoveries have been made by individuals who were deeply devout and saw their work as a way of understanding and honoring God's creation. For example, Gregor Mendel, the father of modern genetics, was a Catholic priest who believed that his scientific work was a way of revealing the underlying order and beauty of God's creation. The accusation that scientists blaspheme God also rests on a narrow and literal interpretation of religious texts. Many religious traditions have a long history of interpreting the scriptures in a more nuanced and metaphorical way, recognizing that the language and imagery used in these texts are often symbolic and open to multiple interpretations. The biblical account of creation, for example, can be seen as a poetic and theological narrative that conveys deeper truths about the nature of God and humanity, rather than a scientific or historical description of the origins of the universe. Furthermore, the idea that science is a form of blasphemy assumes that the natural world is somehow separate from or opposed to the divine. However, many religious traditions see the natural world as a manifestation of God's creation, and the study of the natural world as a way of understanding and appreciating God's wisdom and beauty. In this view, science and faith are not mutually exclusive, but rather complementary ways of understanding the world and our place within it. In conclusion, the notion that scientists blaspheme God with the supposed science is a misguided and narrow perspective that fails to appreciate the complexities and nuances of both science and faith. Science is a neutral and objective pursuit of knowledge, driven by a passion for discovery and a desire to understand the world. While science and faith may have different methods and objectives, they are not inherently in conflict, and many scientists see their work as a way of honoring and understanding God's creation. By recognizing the complementary nature of science and faith, we can work towards a more nuanced and inclusive understanding of the world and our place within it.